Now, it's been announced tonight, very sadly, that Dame Olivia Newton-John, whose leading role in the hit film Grease made her a global star, has died at the age of 73.
Reportedly, following one stunning event, the beloved singer and actress Olivia Newton-John was never invited back to The Tonight Show. The producers allegedly chose not to invite her back after she did something so unexpected during her presence. Many were taken aback by this, especially because Olivia was so famous back then. What transpired that night has long been a topic of fan speculation, which has stoked interest and controversy. The mystery surrounding her ascent to stardom, her personal hardships, and her purported character defects are all still up in the air. Find out with us what happened that shocked Johnny Carson and altered Olivia's connection with The Tonight Show for life. Background and early life experiences. Olivia Newton-John came into this world in the ancient English city of Cambridge on September 26, 1948. Irene Helen Bourne and Brinley Bryn Newton-John were both illustrious members of society. Her mother's family tree was extraordinarily rich and storied, while her father's family was middle class and Welsh. Olivia came from an intellectually, culturally, and historically rich family of high achievers. An individual of German Jewish ancestry was her maternal grandmother, Irene. In 1933, when the Nazi menace grew, her family escaped to the UK. A famous physicist and Nobel Prize laureate, Max Born, was a major figure in the 20th century, thanks to his contributions to science and his role as Olivia's maternal grandpa. Olivia traced her ancestry back to the distinguished German Jewish lawyer Victor Ehrenberg and his wife, Helen Agatha von Jering, via her grandmother, Hedwig. Interestingly, Olivia's surprise distant relationship to Spanish monarchy and her ancestor Martin Luther were both traced through Helen Agatha. An additional member of her family's illustrious pedigree is Gustav Born, a famous pharmacologist, and her great-great-grandfather was the renowned legal scholar Rudolf von Jering. On her mother's side, Olivia also had a distant relative named Ben Elton, who was a writer and comedian. Brinley Newton-John, her father, also came from an impressive family. He was a member of the code-breaking team at the renowned Bletchley Park, where they deciphered the German Enigma codes during World War II while serving as an MI5 officer. One of Hitler's senior officers, Rudolf Hess, was captured and taken into jail, thanks in large part to his actions. Brinley became the headmaster of a Cambridgeshire boys' high school after the war, marking his transfer into academics. Olivia was born into their illustrious family during this period. Olivia came from a family of three. Hugh became a doctor, while Rona became an actress, their older brother. After some time, Rona wed Jeff Conaway, who had a starring role in Grease with Olivia Newton-John. From Olivia's father's second marriage, she inherited two younger half-siblings, Sarah and Toby. Olivia and her family relocated to Melbourne, Australia, in 1954, when she was 5 years old, and that relocation changed her life. On board the SS Strathaired, they set sail toward their destination. By the time she was born, her dad had taken a job at the University of Melbourne as a professor and master of Ormond College. Because of Brinley's position at a Presbyterian institution, the Newton-Johns were regular churchgoers. Olivia attended Christ Church Grammar School in the South Yarra area for her elementary and middle school years, and University High School in Parkville for her senior year. Olivia had enough opportunity to develop her artistic side throughout her childhood in Australia. She was concerned that her science scores wouldn't be high enough to pursue her ambition of being a veterinarian. Rather, she pursued a career in performing due to her innate abilities. From a young age, she had an innate pull toward the performing arts, and her environment only served to encourage that. Olivia and three of her classmates established the singing ensemble Sol 4 when Olivia was 14 years old. She first became aware of music when she heard them perform frequently at her brother-in-law's coffee business. At about the same time, she also realized how much she loved performing. Her performance as Lady Mary in the 1964 school production of The Admirable Crichton garnered her the title of Best Schoolgirl Actress. She was even more motivated to pursue a profession in show business after receiving this accolade. Olivia quickly gained fame in Australia after making appearances on shows such as Time for Terry and The Happy Show, where she endeared herself to viewers as Lovely Livy. Her breakthrough came when she became a member of The Go Show, a music show when she met John Farrar and Pat Carroll, who would later become her collaborators. Farrar would produce several of Olivia's successful songs, and Carroll would eventually become a close friend of Olivia's. Sing, Sing, Sing was the TV talent program where Olivia sang Anyone Who Had a Heart and Everything's Coming Up Roses. She won the competition and received a trip to Britain, bringing national recognition to her skill. Despite her initial reservations, she ultimately consented when her mother urged her to seize the chance, implying that it may have a profound impact on her future. Olivia had no idea that her renowned worldwide career would begin with a single decision. The trip from Cambridge to Melbourne and onto the global stage was just the beginning for her. Olivia Newton-John's slow but steady ascend to stardom. Olivia longs for her partner Ian Turpie, with whom she had shared screen time in an Australian telefilm titled Funny Things Happen Down Under, and who she missed while in Britain. Unfortunately, her mother always ended up cancelling her travels back to Australia. Till You Say You'll Be Mine was Olivia's debut single, recorded in 1966 for Decca Records in Britain. After Olivia and Pat Carroll created a duet named Pat and Olivia and began performing in nightclubs around Europe, things began to improve after Pat relocated to the UK. Once, when dressed in frilly high-collared gowns, they performed at a strip club without noticing until they were already on stage. In addition to their own work, they provided backing vocals for several acts, such as the Easy Beats. Olivia remained in Britain to pursue her solo career, while Pat was forced to return to Australia when her visa expired. Don Kirshner, an American producer, assembled Tomorrow, a group that Olivia became a member of. The band made an album for the 1970 science fiction musical Tomorrow, in which they featured. The band disbanded after the failure of both the film and the CD. After the split, Olivia came out with her solo album If Not For You, which featured Bob Dylan's composition If Not For You, which went on to become her first #1 single. After that, she had another smash with Banks of the Ohio, which was huge in both the UK and Australia. Record Mirror magazine awarded her Best British Female Vocalist for 2 years running. She co-starred with Cliff Richard in the telefilm The Case and made frequent appearances on It's Cliff Richard. When Olivia released Let Me Be There in 1973, it changed everything. Her subsequent singles didn't do as well in the US. Both the Most Promising Female Vocalist and Best Country Female Grammys went to her when the song peaked at number 10 in the US. She also had success with her album Let Me Be There, which peaked on the American and Canadian charts. Olivia made her Eurovision debut with EMI Records with the album Long Live Love, which featured all 6 of her entries, including Long Live Love, which she didn't particularly care for but which the British public had chosen. The contest was won by ABBA's Waterloo, and Olivia placed 4th. Long Live Love, Olivia Newton-John's album, was renamed to If You Love Me, Let Me Know for its US and Canadian releases. New country-style tracks were included on the album in an effort to ride the wave of her smash single, Let Me Be There, rather than her Eurovision songs. Only the title track was new. The rest of the album was a compilation of tracks from her previous albums. One other thing, the record was a smashing success. topping the pop and country charts simultaneously. The lead single, If You Love Me, Let Me Know, fared well, peaking at number 5 on the pop, number 2 on the country, and number 2 on adult contemporary charts. Her subsequent hit, I Honestly Love You, which would later become her hallmark song, is when things start to heat up. She won 2 Grammys for the song, which became her first pop chart topper and remained at the top for 2 weeks. Jeff Barry and Peter Allen wrote it. This song, Olivia stated in her 2018 book, was simple yet profound. Olivia was named Female Vocalist of the Year in 1974 in London by the British Country Music Association. According to rumors, this caused quite a stir in the US. Some country music fans were upset that an international artist was taking home the hardware in their favorite genre. Notwithstanding this, Olivia was honored with a Grammy for Let Me Be There and was crowned Female Vocalist of the Year by the Country Music Association. The fact that she triumphed against Tanya Tucker, Loretta Lynn, and Dolly Parton was significant because they were all well-known country singers. The Association of Country Entertainers was born out of this disagreement, although Olivia did manage to win over the country music community in the end. In fact, Ode to Olivia was even recorded by Dolly Parton's sister as a tribute to Olivia. In addition to having her subsequent album, Have You Never Been Mellow, peak at number 1, Olivia Newton-John also set a record for the shortest duration between a female artist's 2 number-1 albums. This record remained in place for 45 years until it was shattered in 2020 by Taylor Swift. Hits on the album were Have You Never Been Mellow and Please, Mr. Please. Despite Clearly Love's underwhelming performance, Olivia maintained her streak of gold albums. After a long hiatus, she returned in 1978 with a bang, continuing to dominate the adult contemporary singles chart. Helen Mirren in a film role. The life of Olivia Newton-John is an inspiring narrative of perseverance, brilliance, and legendary achievement. After landing the part of Sandy in the iconic 1978 picture Grease, her ascent to global fame accelerated. Just as interesting as the film itself is the backstory of how she was cast. Helen Reddy, an Australian singer, gave a fancy dinner party where Olivia met producer Alan Carr. Carr was keen for Olivia to perform the part, but Olivia had her doubts. Acting as a high school senior made her feel awkward, especially because she was 28 years old. Olivia sought a screen test with John Travolta, the film's lead, to assuage her fears and make sure the part was a suitable match. Everything that followed was a result of the indisputable chemistry. A cultural phenomenon, Grease became an instant smash upon its 1978 theatrical release. The music was even more successful than the film itself, which blew away the box office. For a whopping 12 weeks, it was the top song in the charts. With 3 top 5 songs, including the Travolta duet, You're the One That I Want, and another hit, Olivia was a major factor in the album's success. Among all-time best-selling soundtracks, the album finally rose to the top spot. Unpaid royalties from that soundtrack, however, caused a stir in 2006. Universal Music Group was sued by Olivia's firm, which sought $1 million in compensation. A resolution was reached in 2007 after talks. Nobody could have missed Olivia's turn as Sandy in Grease. She was nominated for a Golden Globe for Best Actress, Musical or Comedy, and won the People's Choice Award. Her awe-inspiring rendition of Hopelessly Devoted to You during the 1979 Academy Awards was one of her most iconic performances. Returning to cinemas on its 20th anniversary, Grease proved once again how beloved it is. Furthermore, in 2022, after Olivia's death, AMC paid tribute to her life and work by airing a special screening of Grease. A portion of the ticket sales went toward funding breast cancer research, an issue that Olivia had long advocated for. Olivia released her second studio album, Totally Hot, in November 1978, riding high on the success of Grease. The record took on a daring new look, with Olivia adopting her film character Sandy's edgy demeanor while wearing leather. Hits like Deeper Than the Night and A Little More Love showcased a more confident and forceful musical approach, which was evident on the album. Secretly, things were heating up between Olivia and her record label, MCA. She was obligated to release 2 albums annually for 2 years under the terms of her contract. The option to extend the deal by an extra 6 albums and 3 years was also owned by MCA. The record company may have extended Olivia's contract if she had missed any of the album due dates. Her 4th album, Making a Good Thing Better, was delayed, in contrast to her first 3, which were delivered on time under the agreement, beginning with Clearly Love. Olivia was working on Grease for RSO Records during this time, and MCA was able to exercise its contractual option, which may have prevented her from signing with another company. Things became rather heated on May 31, 1978. Olivia and MCA were each sued by the other. Olivia claimed that MCA had broken their agreement by failing to promote her songs and liberated her from any future responsibilities by suing for $10 million. As a countersuit, MCA sought $1 million and an injunction to prevent Olivia from collaborating with other record labels. A court decision prevented an automatic extension of the first 5-year deal, even though she had not met the contract's album quota. But until the first term ended, she couldn't sign with a new label. As a result of this high-profile lawsuit, companies rewrote artist contracts, replacing time-based agreements with ones tied to a certain amount of albums. Aside from her professional life, Olivia's romantic relationships were a constant source of media attention. She wed actor Matt Lattanzi in 1984, and their relationship seemed straight out of a fairy tale for a long time. Their 1995 divorce, however, came as a shock and a tragedy to fans, coming after 11 years of marriage. Later in life, Olivia started seeing cameraman Patrick McDermott, whose 2005 disappearance cast a shadow on her life narrative. Olivia gracefully weathered the tabloid storm, becoming famous less for her scandals and more for her eternal optimism and altruism. The cancer fight of Olivia Newton-John. Among Olivia's many personal and public struggles, her fight with cancer has rankled highest. She was already grieving the loss of her father when this news arrived. Although her plans to promote her new album and go on tour came to an abrupt end after receiving the news of her cancer diagnosis, Newton-John refused to let the sickness define her and ultimately triumphed over it. She chose not to allow her hardships drag her down, but rather to utilize them to benefit others. She began to speak out about a variety of health concerns and became an outspoken supporter of breast cancer research. Being a spokeswoman for the Live Kit, a tool that aids women in doing self-examinations for breast cancer, was one way she helped promote awareness. She also became the face of the Colette Chuda Environmental Fund on a national level. The reason this group was named after the daughter of her friend Nancy Chuda, who tragically died from cancer when she was young, made it special to her. Newton-John's musical style was also impacted by her fight with cancer. She documented her trials and tribulations in the 1994 CD Gaia One Woman's Journey. She dedicated herself fully to the project, penning every note and chord. The album was a smashing success, showcasing her incredible songwriting and vocal abilities. Gaia has a few hits with some of its tracks. While Don't Cut Me Down was included in the environmentally themed film It's My Party, the song No Matter What You Do reached number 40 on the Australian charts. Songs such as The Way of Love and Not Going to Give Into It also appeared in a number of films and television series. Newton-John devoted herself to environmental problems in addition to her singing career. Despite all odds, She persevered in her fight to safeguard marine life by serving as president of the Isle of Man Basking Shark Society for a number of years. Newton-John kept shining. Rather than letting cancer define her, she made an effect via her illness. Looking at the cover alone was enough to motivate people all across the world because of her courage and perseverance. Performance by Olivia Newton-John on The Tonight Show. Famous for its engaging interviews and entertainment, The Tonight program is a popular American talk program. The late, great Olivia Newton-John made an appearance on the show once. Her interview and performance were outstanding, highlighting her charisma and talent. Newton-John began her presentation by singing a moving tune. As she started to perform "If You Love Me, Let Me Know," the lights on stage went down, and the crowd went wild with clapping, demonstrating how thrilled they were to see her. She sang with heartfelt sincerity, and the tune was calming. The performance was already moving, but the words added an extra layer of vulnerability and desire. With her eyes sparkling and her face betraying her emotions, Olivia sang with all her might. Every note she sung had an emotional impact on the audience, engrossing them in the song's narrative. A mystical mood was conjured in the recording studio by her voice and the music. Olivia Newton-John spoke with the presenter after her performance. The host greeted her with open arms, and soon enough, the talk was flowing easily. During their discussion on Olivia's life and work, she revealed that she was born in England, but relocated to Australia at the age of 5. As a result, her background is a fascinating fusion of English and Australian traditions. Many American musicians who go to Australia end up really enjoying it, as the host pointed out. According to Olivia, who concurred, Australians are really kind, and the country has its own unique allure. The presenter and Olivia made light of Australian lingo, which may be difficult for non-native speakers to understand. Olivia continued the evening with a stunning performance of her iconic single, "I Honestly Love You," renowned for its heartfelt and poignant lyrics. The performance lacked flash, but had impact. The audience could sense the authenticity of Olivia's words and the profound passion she expressed via her voice. Lyrically, "I Honestly Love You" is about love that is genuine and unsaid. It was easy to accept Olivia's every word because of how honestly she sung. All of the studio-goers were moved to tears by her performance. Her unforgettable performance on the show solidified Olivia Newton-John's status as one of the most revered singers of all time. Good music with a real heart can have an enduring effect, and her songs continue to do just that. Information about Olivia Newton-John's personal life and relationships. Ian Turpie, an Australian actor and singer who co-starred with Olivia Newton-John in the 1965 musical Funny Things Happen Down Under, was her boyfriend in the mid-1960s. Turpie first crossed paths with Newton-John in 1963 in a coffee cafe where Newton Band 4's Soul 4 played. They stayed together until her 1966 return to England. One of Olivia Newton-John's producers and co-writers of the smash Please Mr. Please, Bruce Welch, was engaged to but never married the singer. Newton-John broke off her connection with Welch in 1972. In 1973, while on vacation in the French Riviera, he attempted to hurt himself. After meeting British businessman Lee Kramer, Newton-John began dating and eventually became Kramer's manager. People magazine reports that some close to the couple said that the gulf between her spiritual interests and his more materialistic ones was a major contributor to their breakup. In 1980, while shooting Xanadu, the two had crossed paths. They divorced in 1996 after announcing their split in April 1995. Until the birth of their daughter, Chloe Rose, in January 1986, the couple stayed friends. Patrick McDermott, the mysterious vanishing. In the time after her split from Matt Lattanzi, Newton-John crossed paths with gaffer cameraman Patrick McDermott. Following a fishing trip off the coast of California in 2005, McDermott vanished after a 9-year relationship with the couple. During the period that McDermott was missing, Newton-John was in Australia at her spa resort, Gaia. According to a friend who spoke with authorities, McDermott had seemed sad, but not depressed following their split, and the available information from an inquiry by the United States Coast Guard in 2008 led them to believe that McDermott was lost at sea. A private investigator engaged by a U.S. television show in April 2010 said without evidence that he was alive and had staged his death to collect a life insurance benefit. The theory that Olivia Newton-John's ex-boyfriend staged his own suicide has been disproven in a new podcast that investigates the disappearance of the man. In June 2005, at the age of 48, Patrick McDermott went missing while on an overnight fishing excursion off the coast of Los Angeles with 22 other individuals. He had an on-and-off relationship with the late actress and singer from 1995 to 2005. Patrick was unable to be seen the following day as the other passengers departed the boat. However, his wallet and vehicle keys remained on board. When Patrick did not show up for a family gathering on July 6th, it took another week before anybody noticed he had gone missing from the trip, all because the crew hadn't taken the time to complete a passenger census. His vehicle was still parked close to the marina at San Pedro. Although there has been no sign of Patrick in the 17 years since his disappearance, many have speculated that he may have staged his own suicide as a means to escape his mounting debt, reportedly $30,000 in the red, and having filed for bankruptcy under the strain of maintaining his Hollywood lifestyle. However, according to Female, the hosts of Pseudocide, the disappearance of Patrick McDermott, have stated their belief that Patrick actually died on the fishing trip and that the different sightings of the cameraman do not support this theory. The hosts of the podcast series spoke with Wes Sto, a Manitoban and Canadian, whose photo appeared on the November 2017 cover of the National Enquirer with the headline, "12-Year Mystery Solved." As the series progressed, from his vacation home in Sayulita, Mexico, he informed the podcast hosts that he was shocked to see his photo, which was sold as a portrait of Patrick McDermott. "I don't resemble him, but apparently there are some who believe I do," he said. A bar landlord named Wes also mentioned that he couldn't help but chuckle when he woke up to find himself embroiled in a scandal. He went on to tell the hosts that his pals found the photo on the first page hilarious, and that even one of his pals with a lot of tattoos had a different idea about what had happened. Wes told the hosts that he felt sorry about the situation, which added to the humor of the mistaken identification scenario. When asked about his attempt to reach out to Olivia Newton-John to verify that he was not her missing ex-partner, he recalls feeling awful for some of the family members who may be holding on to a glimmer of hope that he could be alive. Private investigators launched a website that tracked the whereabouts of its users in an effort to decipher the circumstances surrounding Patrick's disappearance, which was cloaked in mystery. Sayulita, a Mexican hamlet, became the subject of attention after a surge of online traffic from the area. The hosts contacted Sayulita's municipal manager, Oswaldo, after reading the stories, as he was one of the residents mentioned as having seen Patrick in various locations. Nevertheless, he inquired, "Patrick who?" when approached by the media. Contrary to what was reported in El País in 2016, he proceeded to disclose that he had not personally interacted with Patrick, offering an alternative narrative. A large number of Sayulita residents have reported seeing Patrick, although it is yet unknown whether any of them have truly laid eyes on him. The presenters reached out to 10 individuals who had supposedly seen Patrick in the Sayulita area, but none of them could verify that they had seen him in person. It was odd to hear that no one in Sayulita had seen Patrick in person, the hosts told Female. Refuting the reports that her missing ex-partner was alive, Olivia stated in 2016 that she had likely come to the conclusion that he had perished on the fishing trip. She said on 60 Minutes, "It's human to wonder. Those worries will always be there, no matter how hard things become. You just have to accept and move on from those things in life. Being human, there will inevitably be questions. However, I continue to exist." John Easterling, who founded and served as president of the Amazon Herb Company from 1990 until its 2000 sale to Trava Inc., was a man Newton-John met in 1993. The eco-entrepreneur John Easterling, better known by his stage name Amazon, has a background in marketing botanicals from rainforests and is now the owner and operator of Happy Tree Microbes, a company that sells natural plant performance products. Newton-John and Easterling were both wed at the time they initially crossed paths. They began dating in 2007, and after an in-chin spiritual ceremony in Peru on June 21, 2008, and a legal ceremony on Jupiter Island, Florida, 9 days later, on June 30, 2008, they were married. After Olivia Newton-John's demise, her impact lives on. At 73 years of age, Olivia Newton-John passed away on August 8, 2022, in her Santa Ynez Valley residence in California. John Travolta, Barbara Streisand, Anthony Albanese, the Prime Minister of Australia, and a slew of other famous people paid tribute. Both Melbourne and Sydney illuminated several sites as a gesture of respect. The singer's request to be cremated and her ashes strewn in Byron Bay at her Santa Ynez Ranch and other locations she loved led to a modest and extremely private memorial ceremony in California in September 2022, according to the Newton-John family. In response to a state funeral invitation, Newton-John's niece, Toddy Goldsmith, accepted on behalf of her family. At the Australian memorial service for Newton-John, which took place on February 26, 2023, at HR Hall in Melbourne and was presided over by David Campbell, eulogies were delivered by her daughter and widower, while television personality Richard Wilkins testified to her courage, optimism, and magnanimity. The ceremony also featured montages of Newton Life John's Center, family, and career, as well as a medley of her songs performed by Delta Goodrem, and video tributes from Elton John, Mariah Carey, Barry Gibb, and Nicole Kidman were pre-recorded. Not only will Olivia Newton-John be cherished for her exceptional singing and acting skills, but also for her unwavering determination and resilience. Many people have been encouraged and uplifted by her campaigning and charitable efforts, and her performances have brought them delight. We learned from her example that it is possible to remain radiant in the face of adversity. Olivia's tale is an inspiring tale of compassion and perseverance. Her story exemplifies the power of perseverance and optimism in the face of adversity, which may lead to positive change in the world. For a very long time, people will draw inspiration and guidance from Olivia Newton-John's legacy. Much obliged for your time. Right now, you're seeing a link on your screen that will take you to another entertaining video. I will see you when this is over.